Welcome to Istanbul, or should I say, welcome back. Indeed, I've introduced this city to you in a previous season of Executive Class, but a destination this amazing deserves a second and deeper look. In this episode, I'll try to see the former Ottoman capital in a different light, with some insider tips on the best places to view one of the world's most beautiful cities, shop for traditional crafts and delicacies, and experience a side of Istanbul once reserved exclusively for the sultans and their families. So join me in Istanbul for a second time. I'm David Celdran, and this is Executive Class. Istanbul. Few cities in the world have the power to conjure fantasies of an exotic bygone world as the former Byzantine and Ottoman imperial capital could. For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople, later renamed Istanbul in modern Turkey, was considered the center of the world, the nexus of East and West, the capital of two of history's most powerful and wealthiest empires. And though its fortunes have shifted in the past century, the lure of this city on the shores of the Bosporus remains as compelling as ever. So much so that one, or two, even several visits will never be enough to fully appreciate what was once called the city of the world's desire. And that's why it's impossible to ever get tired of the city, though I suggest trying out a different itinerary each time you return. Most first-time visitors cover a predictable pattern: a cruise on the Bosporus Straits that separate the Asian and European sides, a tour of the ramparts of the once impregnable Constantinople, and of course, a visit to the magnificent Christian church turned Islamic mosque turned secular museum, the Hagia Sophia, and the equally sublime Sultan Ahmet, or Blue Mosque, built across the square from the former Byzantine cathedral, a mirror image meant to rival it in glory. But if you've already done that, as most first-time travelers would have, it's time to be awestruck once again with a visit to another mosque built for the most celebrated of Ottoman sultans. The most beautiful mosque, according to guidebooks and to most people, is the Blue Mosque, but there's a hitch. Well, for one, it's under construction, at least as I speak, and second, the square around it is always so crowded. So if you want to see another amazing and incredible mosque, especially for architecture, well, it's this one over here, Sulaimania, a mosque built in honor of Sulaiman the Magnificent. In a city where grand mosques are common, Sulaimania stands out for a number of reasons. Built on one of the 7 hills of Istanbul, the mosque is one of the highest and largest in the city. So huge, its domes and minarets are visible across the Bosporus. Wow, this is a really magnificent view of the Golden Horn. At this height, the mosque also offers one of the most stunning vistas of the Golden Horn, and of the Bosporus, and the multinational district of Pera, and the Galata Tower on the European shore. The great thing about this place is it's more than just a mosque. It's a sprawling complex which includes, of course, a mosque. It has a library, it has barracks for soldiers, even a hammam. But for me, one of the most significant parts of this complex would be Sulaiman the Magnificent's tomb, which you see behind me. Sulaiman was the longest reigning Ottoman sultan. He ruled during the empire's golden age. Many of the most magnificent buildings in his capital were commissioned by him and built by his favorite architect, Sinan. Sulaimania with its grand dome and majestic courtyard is Sinan's greatest achievement and one of the most perfectly designed holy structures in the world, for which Suleiman the Magnificent meant it to be, a symbol of Islam's and his Ottoman dynasty's ascendancy in the 16th century. An interesting stroll downhill from the mosque is a spice bazaar. Less popular than the touristy Grand Bazaar, it's a great alternative for visitors more interested in shopping for quality rather than snapping a selfie.
Now, the wonderful thing about the Spice Bazaar or Egyptian Bazaar is that it's locals who really shop here. Locals. You'll find many tourists, of course, but this is where the locals come to shop. The richer ones inside the bazaar and the working class here outside.
It's much busier along the fringes of the bazaar, but it's a fantastic place to try what locals buy.
Chil peyniri. Peyniri, huh?
Yes.
So it's like a pulled
Yes.
pulled cheese, sheep's cheese, right?
Yes.
Ah. Visitors to the Spice Bazaar are usually curious about the long line that always forms outside the side entrance of the Spice Market or Egyptian Bazaar. Well, this is what they're lining up for. It's the oldest coffee house in the city.
Kurukaveci Mehmet Efendi is the oldest and still the best-known coffee company in Turkey. The roaster is a landmark for coffee enthusiasts who know that Arabica beans were first cultivated in Ethiopia, in Yemen, back then a part of the Ottoman Empire, and brought to Istanbul from where it spread to Europe. Apart from coffee, the Turks are also famous for their tea. Apple and pomegranate are two unique varieties sold in the bazaar. Prices and products tend to be similar from store to store, but pick one with a friendly English-speaking staff, just to be sure.
All right.
Which one?
I just like this one.
Onion rose.
Yes.
One of my favorite delicacies is lokum, sweet gummy treats laced with nuts and other local ingredients. Known abroad as Turkish delights, you'll find them everywhere. But the shops in the bazaar only sell lokum made with natural ingredients and pure honey, instead of cheaper sweeteners with artificial flavors. This is a spice bazaar after all, so saffron is another specialty, either from Iran or from the farms of Turkey. Mustafa, my local guide, would rather shop in his neighborhood market. But unless you have a good command of the Turkish language, he recommends sticking to the spice bazaar instead. It's a mistake many foreigners make, insisting on shopping in places where they're easily manipulated, by sweet-talking carpet salesmen especially.
One of the most coveted souvenirs, if you can call it that, or things to buy in Istanbul is a carpet or a rug. And most people go to the Grand Bazaar close by to haggle and argue to get the best price. I don't like doing that. What I like to do is to go to a place you can trust, a place with a reputation, a place with history, a place like Punto.
As a rule of thumb, the longer a carpet merchant has been in business, the more trustworthy. Punto has been selling antique and new carpets to generations of local and international clients. All these are sourced from the tribal villages and artisanal weaving cooperatives. Choices range from tribal kilims with ethnic motifs to more luxuriously woven carpets with elaborate floral patterns. All are handmade, meaning no two will ever be the same, which is why authentic Turkish carpets are pricier than most actually think.
Well, price definitely depends on workmanship, which is the most important part because it's labor, material, region, which family made it, who made it. All these factors come together and create high quality rug.
Whether it's Turkish carpets or delicacies, insiders always recommend an establishment that has been patronized by locals for generations. A confectionery like Karakoy Gololu.
Everyone who comes to Istanbul is looking for the best baklava, and I'm often asked that question, where exactly can you find the best? Well, it's hard. It's like asking people what's the best gelato in Florence or what's the best pizza in Napoli. But this I can say, if you want some really good baklava, you gotta try this place. And you can tell it's good quality baklava just by looking at the lines.
Karakoy Gololu, a short walk from the Karakoy port on the European side of the Bosphorus, has been baking baklava since 1820. There's always a line, but your patience will be rewarded the moment you bite into the sweet and crunchy pastry. Despite Gololu's popularity, the family insists on maintaining only one shop to ensure the best quality. So don't confuse it with a chain of stores with a similar name operated by their relatives. This, after all, is the original, all handmade and baked in a stone oven the same morning, using a recipe that hasn't changed much in over a century. For the bestseller, only pistachios from Gaziantep, known as the best, which are sprinkled between 44 layers of filo pastry and soaked in a sherbet of sugary water and natural citric acid.
Look at all that pistachio. The others you buy, you only get a few of it. This one is literally spilling out of the filo.
The shop in Karakoy is at the foot of the Pera district, or Beyoğlu, once known for its large and mixed foreign population, as well as the Galata Tower, one of Istanbul's most recognizable icons. The 14th century watchtower built by Genoese settlers in Constantinople is at the heart of Istanbul's busy commercial district and close to Istiklal, its longest shopping street. It's the best place to observe locals enjoying the traditional evening stroll, a leisurely walk that includes a snack under the gaze of Galata Tower, just as foreigners once did over a century before. After the break, more hidden gems and insider tips for visitors returning to Istanbul.